Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Pakistan Studies course Hum1112. I'm Professor Talat Khurshid. Today is our 29th lecture. In the last lecture, we discussed at length about education, importance of education in Pakistan, educational development. Now, today, we will be touching on a very important topic, and that is languages of Pakistan. Language has been a very critical issue as far as this subcontinent is concerned. Predominantly, this subcontinent had the Hindi language as a language. But with the coming of Mughals, multiple languages came to surface. And geographically, this region is so distributed that there are variety of languages. And all these languages are so rich, so much in-depth philosophy is there in every language that it was very difficult to have one language. So as a result of that, Urdu was made as a language of India, the Mughal India. And in Urdu, the Urdu progressed, was established basically because in the Mughal army there were people from various regions, so it was very difficult to make them understand and communicate. And that's why this language emerged, and this language came as a official language and was popularly known as Lashkari language, Fauj ki Zuban. Thereafter, it became Darbar ki Zuban. Thereafter, it became a very common language, and was officially used in all office matters in the management and organization of India. When the Britishers came to the subcontinent, Britishers brought a very small team to manage British India. Out of other problems, one very serious problem which they faced was the communication problem. And then came the philosophy of introducing English as a language in British India. And the methodology for introducing English as a language in India is that this should be a functional English, a language of arts and craft or general methodology. And people of India should know English to that extent that they could understand what their bosses are saying, and they could communicate whatever they have in mind or they have in heart to their bosses. So more or less that was a functional English, but then it became a literary English, and the purpose was to involve the people in literary discussions and interactions. On the other hand, Urdu was very rich. Urdu has influence from so many other languages and world-renowned poets and writers and scholars were produced in Urdu. Unfortunately, when the Britishers were in power, Hindus left the Muslims and joined the government, the ruling party. And with joining the ruling party, they start spreading their roots in the system. And at one point of time, way back in 19th century, a very serious clash took place between the Hindus and the Muslims because they wanted to introduce Hindi as an official language, which is popularly known as language controversy. And with that language controversy, there was a political awareness, enlightenment in the Muslims. And thereafter, that resulted in establishment of Muslim League. The Muslim League was fighting the cause of the Muslims, but then we see that at point of time, it was a united struggle to get rid of the Britishers. And in this context, a committee of all the parties which were very effective, which was very efficient, was formed under Jawaharlal Nehru, the congressman, the gentleman with the Congress philosophy. There were two Muslim representatives in the committee, and when the Nehru report proposal came in, very interesting argument, one of the very interesting and last argument point out of the 7 points were that Hindi would be the national language. As a result, I would not go into the history in detail, but as a result, there was a lot of Muslim hatred, Muslim challenge, and finally we see that Jinnah came with 14 points, then procedures were adapted, the Act of 1935 came, and under Act of 1935, election took place and the governments were formed in 1937. Out of 11 provinces, in 9 provinces, the Congress government was there, or a coalition government with Congress was established. And at that point of time, they got a good advantage of the situation and introduced Hindi as an official language, which generated a lot of controversy, lot of hatred, and finally, this was one of the factors that finally the Lahore resolution was passed. That is, Muslim League vehemently rejected the government design or approach to introduce Hindi as an official language and a media form of instruction in schools, colleges, and working of the government. So that finally created a situation. One of the factors was that the Muslim would think for a separate homeland, and that is how resolution of 1940 was passed. Unfortunately, thereafter, we see that the gap between Hindi and Urdu increased. And much earlier to that, Muslims were extremely resistant to accept English as a language in the subcontinent and were very poor in learning English. Resultantly, a small segment of population, Muslim population, learned the language of the ruling class, the British government, and joined the government and were effective. Anyhow, finally, Alhamdulillah, Pakistan was formed, and Pakistan was formed on the basis of religion, and out of religion, Muslim dominant area became Pakistan. When we see the establishment of Pakistan, on the east there was a compact mass which was known Bengal, and with the formation of Pakistan, the name was given to East Pakistan. But on the west side, the Muslim majority area was like West Pakistan, and West Pakistan has lot of diversity as far as languages are concerned. We will discuss that West Pakistan was like 4 provinces, and every province has a different language. There were certain languages which were understandable, others were so hard, rigid, fixed that it is difficult to understand those languages. In the early days of Pakistan, again the language controversy started, and the then Prime Minister of Pakistan and the then Governor General of Pakistan, the Governor General of Pakistan, Liaquat Ali Khan, was of the view. The Governor General of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Qaid-e-Azam, was of the view that Urdu should be the national language, which was very strongly supported in the assembly forum by Liaquat Ali Khan. And despite the demand of Bengalis that Bangla should be introduced as a national language of Pakistan, the proposal was rejected. The claim of the Bengalis were that they happen to be in majority and they are one compact mass where one language is spoken. The dialects could be different, but the language is one in our East Pakistan. So this means that every Bengali understand Bengali as a language. Whereas in West Pakistan, there was a lot of diversity, and every province, every area is different, and everybody has to learn language afresh. Because it was only very small segment of population which migrated and could understand and speak Urdu as a language, whereas larger migrants from the newly created India to Pakistan, Muslims, were those who migrated from a rural area of India, and they could speak and understand very little Urdu. In other areas like NWFP, Balochistan, Sindh and Punjab, hardly few people would know Urdu, and everybody was to rush and learn afresh in the language. So the Bengalis made a point that Bengali should be made national language, because all Bengalis, which were majority as a population of the newly established country is concerned, they were concerned that they had to work hard and do afresh to learn Urdu as a language, whereas English is also a medium of official communication. On the contrary to this, in West Pakistan, which was combined together population-wise was less than East Pakistan, and then there were various regions, and in various regions people speak various languages, various dialects is there. So it is not it would be very difficult for the entire population to learn Urdu as a language, and with little efforts they could learn Bengali as an alternate language. Gentlemen, students, this language issue generated politics. And with this politics, what happened is that Liaquat Ali Khan was murdered, and before that Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah died, and a Bengali was made the Governor General of Pakistan, Khwaja Nazimuddin. When Liaquat Ali Khan was murdered after a few years, Khwaja Nazimuddin stepped down and became the Prime Minister. Now, in that context, Ghulam Muhammad became the Governor General. So we had one person from the West Pakistan and one person from the East Pakistan. The Bengalis were very happy with this situation, but somehow or the other, the politician manipulated the situation and convinced the Prime Minister to announce official language for Pakistan, and Khwaja Nazimuddin, out of his innocence, out of his foolishness, or out of any other factor, was convinced that Urdu should be national language and made an announcement. That announcement was like bush in the fire. It was like a jungle fire, and the Bengalis came out on the street. Lot of uprisings took place, and finally gunshots were fired. And today, if you have to trace the history of Bengal, the origin of currently Bangladesh, our former East Pakistan, they would say that Khwaja Nazimuddin was conspired and was motivated to the extent that he got the announcement done, which was a big harm or step in the back of the Bengali nation. And now, when they have to trace their legitimate history as a motherland, they, on the top of the line, they write language controversy. So students, language is a very serious issue, particularly in our region, and has been and remained a very sensitive issue. Anyhow, with the introduction of Urdu as a national language, great service was done. And the government worked very hard to familiarize people with the language. So Pakistan emerged as a nation with a variety of languages, but Urdu was since made an official language and a national language, and English was made as an official language. The provinces where other languages are spoken is like Punjab in Punjabi, Sindhi in Sindh, Pashto in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and Balochistan, Balochi in Balochistan. But there are other languages which are like minority languages, which are like a small segment languages, like in Balochistan, we have Brohi as a language, Balochi as a language, Pashto as a language, and Brohi as a language. In Punjab, if we see Pakistan, the present Pakistan, the West Pakistan, had 4 provinces, and in that the Punjabi was predominantly the very dominant language, very popular language in Punjab was being spoken, and even today is being spoken in the entire Punjab, with small dialectical adjustment like southern Punjab, it is Punjabi converting into Saraiki, which is getting very close to Sindhi. So the Saraiki is a buffer language between Punjabi, which is being spoken in central Punjab, and the language across, spoken across river Indus or Sindh, that is known as like Saraiki language. Then we see in the upper north of Pakistan, ahead of central Punjab, there is another language which is very widely spoken, and that is Potwari. Potwari. Potwari is the language which is another spoken. Out of that, if we go to north east, there is a province called Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and they were predominantly Pathans, and they used to speak Pashto as a language. On the other hand, we see Kashmiris, and Kashmiri used to speak initially Kashmiri language, which is like Shina, and which is a very popular language, but again in Gilgit-Baltistan, the present Gilgit-Baltistan and Kashmir, there are variety of languages, and that's why their challenges are very serious. So Punjab is speaking Punjabi, Sindhi, and Potwari and Punjabi Potwari. Punjabi, Potwari, Urdu and English. If we further go towards northeast, we see Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the current Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which was initially entitled as NWFE, and the very dominant language is Pashto. But in addition to that, in certain pockets of NWFP, Hindko is being spoken. Like whatever is on the extreme west of KP is the Hazara region, and they speak Hindi. Then in Peshawar also, people speak Hindi as a language, domestic language, home language, they speak. And then in other regions, even in south, if we see, down in Karachi, Urdu was a predominant language. Initially, the capital of Pakistan was in Karachi, and the mass migration through sea, through air, and even through train and roads, which took place in 1947, a big majority of people went to Karachi. Why? Because of economic reason, because of social reason, because of geographical region, because nearing to the heavy source of water, and so many other, and economic activities, so many other things. But now, right now, Pakistan has 5 major provinces and has 5 important languages, like Punjab has Punjabi. The present Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the former defunct Subai Sarhad, had official language as Urdu, and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa also adopted as a language. Then we come to Sindh, and we see that the Sindh claims that they are very rich in culture, and they are part of the Indus Valley civilization. They have Harappa and Mohenjo-daro and so many other places which are being digged out in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So this region became too dominant as a religion, as a language. But other than the above languages, now we have a 5th province, and which is known Gilgit-Baltistan. And in Gilgit-Baltistan there are a variety of languages, and Sheena is more properly spoken language. And then in Azad Kashmir, Kashmiri is as a language, whereas across the border it is again Kashmiri as a language. Interestingly, the Constitution of Pakistan, 1973, the language issue was addressed, because in the language politics we lost our arm, the bigger arm, population-wise. I mean, the strength of Pakistan, we lost that, and you know, East Pakistan became Bangladesh. Now, since our earlier 2 constitutions were abrogated, we wanted a separate constitution, and a new constitution was framed, and that is known as Constitution of 1973. The Prime Minister of Pakistan solved the language issue very professionally, very technically, and people tried to play politics in the language issue, but handle it. The government handled it very carefully, very consciously. Resultantly, the issue of language has been solved once for all. And the Constitution says that Urdu would be a national language, Urdu would be a provincial language. Only it was Sindh which played politics on the language and wanted Sindhi as an official language. So at the provincial level, it is only in the province of Sindh that there are 3 languages: Urdu as a national language, English as an official language, and finally Sindhi as a local language. So in Sindh, English, official correspondence, medium of instruction. Otherwise, it is Urdu, and even people like me would like to get things done in Urdu at federal level. So this was done through the official language. You would be very surprised. Before I go into the details of the languages, I would like to tell you that a child in Pakistan education system has to learn or speak or understand at least 5 languages. How? One is a home language, which we speak within the home and within the ladies, within the children, within the smaller community. We speak that language, and that is known as home language. Then there is a language of the community, where we move, where हम उठते बैठते हैं, हम चलते फिरते हैं, हम बातचीत करते हैं, हम दोस्तों से खेलते हैं, वो that is another language. Third language, fourth language, and fifth language are our school language. What could be the third language? The third language is Arabic, which we are required to learn if we go for education. The fourth language is like Urdu, and it is a national language, and the purpose of this language is to create a harmony in the people, a cooperation among the people, a communication level among the people. Our communication level between literate and illiterate, Urdu has played a very important role. Urdu happens to be a very soft, very rich, culturally very strong, and very well established language that people start talking. Not only talking, they start writing, they have written books, the judiciary cases are taking place through Urdu. So in a way, this language is a very popular language in Pakistan and has acquired its due position. And then for official correspondences, we have official language, English, which is very much common in all 5 provinces. There are few princely states. There are few other areas where either, the control is with somebody within Pakistan, but still they managed to speak Urdu as a official language. Then, and in, let me add that in Sindh, in Kashmir, Urdu is not only as a national language, but is also an official language, and all communication and correspondence in Azad Kashmir are mostly done through Urdu as a language, official language, national language, because they feel that they are part of Pakistan, and since they are part of Pakistan, they should speak Urdu as a national language, and for as an official language, they do all the correspondence majorly from in Urdu. In our education system, we have different streams of education system. One is private education system. Second is government education system. And third is religious education system. The religious education system, Arabic is predominantly a language, but they also take advantage of Urdu as a language. The mechanism of communication in the local madrasas are in the local languages. So in madrasa, it is Urdu, the local language, Arabic, and now to make the graduates from madrasas job oriented or getting the job and meeting the market's requirements, now they learn English and also Urdu, because Urdu is a larger medium of communication within Pakistan, and you go to any nook corner of Pakistan, Urdu is understood, Urdu is used, and that is a very positive sign of the struggle done by the founding fathers of this nation, that they work for languages, and that was very efficient and effective. But in addition to all this scenario or the background I have given, we have various other languages predominantly speaking in various regions. Please keep in mind that language is very important, and that is why isko kehte hain mother tongue, madri zuban. When a bacha is born in a particular region, out of the particular parents, he hears everything every day, and that is a process of education, and then the communication process starts. And when the communication process starts, the house language becomes important. Keep in mind that literacy rate in our women is around 30%. So this means that with the low literacy rate, it is very poorly expected that either the parents are communicating with the children in the official language or national language. Because mostly the parents communicate with their children in the mother tongue. So that's how the mother tongue becomes very important. And since the present Pakistan is a compact mass, there is extreme overlapping of the cultures, and there is an extreme overlapping of the languages. So if we talk of Saraiki language, the predominant factor which would come to our mind is that this is probably the language of southern Punjab. But at one point, Punjab and the present KPK, the Sindh and the Balochistan meet, and that is very near to Saraiki region. The Saraiki region has a influence. Same is the situation as far as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is concerned, that it has an interaction level with Gilgit-Baltistan, and their languages like Kohistani languages, Kalashi languages, and Balti language and Gilgiti language, that has also an effect in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa geographical areas. So we see, though, that Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or NWFP signifies as a predominantly Pathan-oriented region, so the popular language should have been Pashto only, but it is not like that. Though Pashto is very dominant language in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, but people speak Hindko also. Hindko is a local dialect spoken in the pockets of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or in the areas where largely people came and settled during Khilafat movement. And you have heard Khilafat movement. I don't need to go to that history. Hindko is also a very important language as far as partly region of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and that is Hazara Belt. Hazara Belt, that is Abbottabad and other areas, the predominant language, rather they understand little Pashto and they speak more Hindko. Same is the case in the Peshawar city, that the local people of the city speaks Hindko, though they are under the influence of Pashto and they know Pashto also, but more prominently they can speak Hindko. If we go to the south of Peshawar, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, only 60 kilometers from Peshawar is Kohat, a cantonment. And in that area, in the city area, the local language, the predominant language is again Hindko. But since Kohat is surrounded by all Pashtun belts, they can understand and also speak in Pashto. But Pashto does not mean that in entire Khyber Pakhtunkhwa it is the same Pashto. The Pashto on the western side of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is different, very soft, highly literate Pashto, and is like something which carries an official dialect of the language, Pashto language. Whereas in South, the dialect is different. And if we go to Bannu, extreme south of Peshawar, the Pashto is spoken, Bannu, Tira, Waziristan, and other places. The Pashto is spoken over there is altogether far different than the Pashto spoken in Mardan and Charsat area and Peshawar. And then further south is D.I. Khan, and in D.I. Khan it is Hindko, and partially there is an influence of Saraiki. Students, we cannot find 100% purity of the language in a particular region. So that we have to understand. And since educationally we are quite backward, so largely speaking, we have not emerged as a single communicative unit of a language. But thanks to Urdu and thanks to the services rendered by the people who ensure the propagation of Urdu, that now in the present Pakistan, from one end of Pakistan to other end of Pakistan, Urdu is spoken and Urdu is understood. But this Urdu may not be the same Urdu as were spoken or were carried from Delhi or Lucknow. Lucknow happens to be the most literate center, literary center, अदबी घर जिसको कहते हैं, of Urdu, and Lucknowi Urdu was altogether different. Whereas Delhi Urdu was again different. But what we speak in Pakistan is functional Urdu. कैसी टर्मिनोलॉजी है? फंक्शनल उर्दू. फंक्शनल उर्दू क्या होती है जी? फंक्शनल उर्दू वो होती है कि मैं बोलूं और आपको समझ आ जाए, आप बोलें मुझे समझ आ जाए. इन फंक्शनल उर्दू or in functional language, we relax the grammar, we relax the literature, and we are in a communicative mode. You understand, I understand, fine, fine, thank you, the message is conveyed. So Urdu ने पाकिस्तान की जहाँ टूटने का बेस बना, انڈیا سے، ہندوؤں سے، وہاں پاکستان کے اندر بھی ٹوٹنے کا بیس بنا ایسٹ اور ویسٹ پاکستان میں. اس سے بڑھ کر انٹیگریٹنگ فیکٹر بنا سارے پاکستان میں، جو موجودہ پاکستان ہے، جہاں بے تحاشا ویریشن ہے زبان کی، جہاں بے تحاشا ڈائلیکٹس کی ویریشن ہے، اور جہاں بہت ساری زبانیں بولی جاتی ہیں. تو اگر آپ سامنے اسکرین پہ دیکھیں، میں آپ کو ایک صوبے کی زبان دکھا رہا ہوں جس میں کہ پشتو ہے، وہ خیبر پختونخوا کی ہے، اور اس میں پشتو بھی بولی جاتی ہے، ہند کو بھی بولی جاتی ہے. ایک زبان ہوتی ہے خواہر، وہ چترال میں بولی جاتی ہے، سرائکی ہے، کوہستانی ہے، کلاشی ہے، جدگی ہے، دومیلی ہے، اشارتی ہے. یہ زیادہ تر زبانیں آپ کے سامنے، چلاسی ہے، کلمہ ہے، یہ زیادہ تر زبانیں آپ کے سامنے میں نے رکھنے کی کوشش کی ہے. خیبر پختونخوا کی یہ زیادہ تر زبانیں اس طرف والی جو ہے وہ اس وقت جی بی گلگت بلتستان کی زبانیں ہیں جو بولی جاتی. اسی طرح اگر ہم بلوچستان میں جائیں تو جیسے کہ نام سے ظاہر ہوتا ہے، بلوچستان پریڈومیننٹلی بلوچیوں کا علاقہ ہے. تو پاپولر لینگویج جو بلوچستان کی ہے وہ بلوچی ہونی چاہیے، مگر بلوچستان میں ایک اچھی بڑی سیگمنٹ پاپولیشن کی جو ہے پشتونوں کی بھی ہے، تو وہ پشتو بولی جاتی ہے، بروہی بھی ہے. اور مزے کی بات ہے کہ کچھ کرد لوگ جو ہیں، and Kurd are basically the Turkish descendants. They have moved and they have come and settled. Then their Saraiki is there. میں نے ایسے کہا، آپ سے عرض کیا کہ بلوچستان جو ہے چارے صوبے ہمارے کشمور کے پاس کہیں جا کے ہمارے چاروں صوبے ایک جگہ پہ ملتے ہیں، تو وہاں کی وہ سدرن پنجاب کا علاقہ ہے، اور سدرن پنجاب کا علاقے کی سرائکی زبان ہے. تو دین بہت سارا علاقہ بلوچستان کا سندھی انفلوئنس سے ہے، اینڈ دیر از اے لاٹ آف ٹرانس مائگریشن فرام بلوچستان ٹو سندھ اینڈ وائس ورسا. تو اس لیے سندھی بھی بولی جاتی ہے. دراوڑی پرشین بھی زبان ہے، بیکاز پارٹلی اٹ از انڈر انفلوئنس of Iran and it has a border with Iran, so Persian is spoken, but it is not that soft Persian which is spoken in Iran. It is slightly a rough form of a Persian. Then there is another language which is known as Makrani, and it is spoken in Makran area, the coastal belt. Then we have Hazarvi language. Hazarvi language basically from Afghanistan, and in Afghanistan there is a Hazara tribe, and since Afghanistan and Pakistan has a common border, so lot of people have migrated from Hazara province of Balochistan and settled in Hazara province of Afghanistan and settled in Balochistan of Pakistan. And since they have settled, they live together, they have their home language which is known as Hazari language. Then there are Lasi tribes. Then there is another language which is known Dari, and this Dari language is very close. Is basically an Afghan language. It is like a Persian language, but it is not Persian. It is slightly a mixture of Pashto and Persian, and is spoken in above part of Afghanistan. So the people who have migrated from Afghanistan or who communicate with the people in Pakistan, they speak this Dari language. Basically, down towards Iran, the language which is spoken is Dharaudi Persian, and up side it is Dari language. So just see how many, these are, I'm talking of the bigger languages. I'm not talking about the smaller languages or other further local languages which are being spoken. Now, just see the predominant languages spoken in Sindh. Since the province is Sindh, the language is Sindhi, and it is a very old language. It has a very rich culture, and they claim that Indus civilization, this language is from the Indus civilization time, and that is how only it is the province of Sindh which has maintained officially its language as Sindhi. Otherwise, for all other provinces of Pakistan, it is Urdu as national language and English as national official language. Only in Sindh it is Sindhi. Also, the three languages. Urdu, now I need not go in lot of detail regarding Urdu, but since lot of migration has taken place, initial settlement was there, initial capital of Pakistan was there, so Urdu is widely spoken and understood, but again there are pockets where Urdu is more patronized than others. And these are major cities of Sindh where the migrants from India initially came, settled, and being more educated at that time, established the institutions, became the leading masters of that area, and so that is how they are following. Saraiki, as I said earlier, that Saraiki is due to influence of southern Punjab, the border area, the closer area to that is Gujarati language. This is an influence from Indian side. We share a very big border with India in Sindh area, so there are influences of languages that like Gujarati and Thar language, and the people who live in Thar, they have their language. In small areas, Pashto is spoken and understood, but now in Karachi, the people migrating from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, they have become a very serious majority, and the Pashto is becoming very popular. Pashto is becoming very popular language in certain areas of Sindh, because people from north migrated and settled there for business. Marwi and Khatarvi languages, they are Hindu influence. Marwi and Khatarvi languages, they are in Hindu influenced languages and are spoken largely in Hindu families of Sindh. Here are few languages which are predominantly spoken in Punjab, and definitely as the name specifies, it is Punjab, so it is Punjabi. And in Punjabi, there are various dialects and subcasting of the language, and I would say Saraiki and Potwari and Hindko. We have already discussed these languages. These are Harwani language is there also, but it is not a very dominating language. It is not a very popular language, but it is same is the case that in certain areas there is a Pashto influence, and then we have Bhagri language. Now these are normally the language of the people of the villages, of the areas where mostly the people are involved in agriculture. Azad Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, if we say again, you can see Punjabi, you can see Hindko, you can see Pashto, and their own language is like Mirpuri language, those who are from Mirpur area, and Phari language, it is very close to. Urdu is also spoken there, and Gujari language is also spoken there. So, students, these are the languages of Pakistan. These are the few predominant languages of Pakistan. Why language is important? Language is important in the sense that people think in a particular language, people behave in a particular language. So that's why, and people have love for their own language. Every language, if it is looked in detail, it is very rich, it is very strong, it has strong roots, it has a strong vocabulary, and it has a strong communication level. But as far as formal education is concerned, in Pakistan, normally the education takes place in Urdu, English, to some extent in Pashto, very little in Balochi, and slightly better than the two in Sindhi. The school medium, the education medium is there, and people are doing their best efforts to promote their language. But largely speaking, English and Urdu are the predominant language in Pakistan. Urdu is very important in the sense that it has lot of capacity to absorb, and even with the bad dialect, with the bad accent, the message is communicated. For example, आपने अक्सर सुना होगा, लोग कहते हैं कि इस मुल्क की तलीम का बुरा हाल है. What is तलीम? The proper Urdu word is तालीम. مگر کیونکہ عرف عام میں جیسے غلط اور غلط کو ہم غلط بولتے ہیں اور سمجھ آ جاتا ہے. اسی طرح ملک کو ملک بولتے ہیں تو سمجھ آ جاتا ہے. تعلیم کو تعلیم بولتے ہیں تو سمجھ آ جاتا ہے. تو یہ اس کا ڈیلیما ہے یا یہ اس کا ایڈوانٹیج ہے کہ اردو میں یہ اڈیپٹیبلٹی ہے کہ وہ چیزوں کو ایبزارب کرتی جاتی ہے. اب آپ نے دیکھا جو میں نے یہ جملہ بولا، میں نے یہ پچھلے جملے میں کہا اس ملک کا یہ ڈیلیما ہے. ڈیلیما انگریزی کا لفظ ہے. مجھے یہ چاہیے تھا کہ یہ بولتا کہ اس زبان کی یہ کمزوری ہے کہ یہ دوسری زبانوں کے الفاظ، میں نے کہا تھا، ایبزارب کر لیتی ہے. ایبزارب انگریزی کا لفظ ہے. اردو کا لفظ جو یہاں بہتر استعمال ہونا چاہیے تھا کہ یہ سما لیتی ہے، یہ سمو لیتی ہے. مگر جب میں یہ اس قسم کی اردو بولوں گا تو میں لکھنؤ کی اردو بول رہا ہوں، تو میں دہلی کی اردو بول رہا ہوں. اور ہمارے لیے جن کے گھر کی، جن کو ایک 5 سال کے بچے کو 5 زبانیں بولنی پڑتی ہیں، اس کے لیے یہ پاسبل نہیں ہے کہ وہ لکھنؤ کی یا دہلی کی زبان بولے. اس کے لیے یہی پاسبل ہے کہ وہ فنکشنل زبان بولے. اور فنکشنل زبان کیا ہے؟ جو آپ کو اور مجھے سمجھ آ جائے. فنکشنل زبان وہ ہے جس سے کہ ہمارا مدح حاصل ہو جائے، پرپس حاصل ہو جائے. دیکھیے میں نے مدح کا لفظ کہا اور میں پھر پرپس کہہ رہا ہوں، اور مجھے یقین ہے کہ آپ کو پرپس آسانی سے سمجھ آ گیا ہوگا، مدح نہیں سمجھ آیا ہوگا. تو اسٹوڈنٹس، لینگویج بڑی ضروری ہوتی ہے، زبان بہت ضروری ہوتی ہے. قوموں کو بائنڈ کر کے رکھتی ہے، قوموں کو متحد رکھتی ہے، اور اگر صحیح سمجھ آئے تو صحیح مفہوم کمیونیکیٹ کرتی ہے. لینگویج سے ہمیں لٹریچر ملتا ہے. لٹریچر میں اسٹوریاں ہوتی ہیں، ادب ہوتا ہے، ڈائلاگ ہوتا ہے، فیلنگز ہوتے ہیں، جیسچرز ہوتے ہیں، کمیونیکیشنز ہوتی ہے، انڈرسٹینڈنگ کی بات ہوتی ہے. اور لینگویج کسی ملک کے لیے بڑی ضروری ہے. آپ کو یاد ہوگا انیشیلی ایلیمنٹس آف اسٹیٹس جب میں نے گنوائے تھے تو اس میں ایک لینگویج بھی گنوایا تھا. لینگویج کس لیے گنوایا تھا؟ کہ لینگویج ہی ایک قوم کو شناخت دیتی ہے، ایک قوم کو پہچان دیتی ہے. اور لینگویج ہی ایک ملک کو دوسرے ملک سے سپریٹ کرتی ہے. اور لینگویج ہی ایک ریجن کو، ایک کلچر کو، ایک سویلائزیشن کو دوسرے سویلائزیشن سے منفرد کرتی ہے. تو آج کا اگر ہم لیکچر سمرائز کریں کہ پاکستان کے لیے، پاکستان میں لینگویج کی بہت زیادہ ڈائیورسٹی ہے، بہت زیادہ پھیلاؤ ہے، مگر وہ پھیلاؤ آخر میں کنورج ہو جاتا ہے ایک نیشنل لینگویج کے لیے، ایک یا 2 نیشنل لینگویج کے لیے. اور ہم نے اس کو یہ کہا اور آپ کے سامنے یہ پیش کیا کہ اردو پاکستان کی نیشنل لینگویج ہے اور انگریزی پاکستان کی آفیشیل لینگویج ہے، جس سے ہم تعلیم تو ضرور حاصل کرتے ہیں. ہماری آفیشیل کرسپونڈنس، آفیشیل انٹریکشن، دفتری زبان جو ہے ہماری، وہ ہماری انگلش ہے. اور بین الاقوامی زبان بھی جو اس وقت ہے، پریڈومیننٹ زبان جو ہے، بہت پاپولر زبان جو ہے، بہت مشہور زبان جو ہے، بہت کامنلی یوز زبانوں میں جو دنیا میں کچھ 5-6 زبانیں بہت لارجلی اسپوکن زبانیں ہوتی ہیں، اس میں سے انگلش کا شمار ہوتا ہے، اور ہمارے ہاں انگلش ایک زبان بولی جاتی ہے. تو اسٹوڈنٹس، آج کا لیکچر میں ہم نے دیکھا کہ ہم نے اردو کی ایولیوشن دیکھی، ہم نے دیکھا کہ اردو کا کیسے ارتقا ہوا، ہم نے یہ دیکھا کہ اردو نے کیسے بر صغیر کو ڈیوائیڈ کیا، ہم نے یہ دیکھا کہ اردو نے کیسے اس ملک کو ڈیوائیڈ کیا، اور ہم نے یہ بھی دیکھا کہ اردو اس ملک کو کیسے یونائٹ کر کے رکھ رہی ہے، متحد کر کے رکھ رہی ہے. یہی طریقے ہیں، اور یہی ایک لیونگ لینگویج کی پہچان ہے، اور یہی ایک لینگویج کی پراسپیرٹی ہوتی ہے. لوگ اردو کی بڑی خدمت کر رہے ہیں. اردو کا میڈیم ہمارا میڈیم آف انسٹرکشن بھی ہیں. ہمارے مدارس میں عربی میڈیم آف انسٹرکشن ہے، مگر اس کے ساتھ میڈیم آف کمیونیکیشن اردو ہے. ہمارے اسکولوں میں ایک انگلش میڈیم اسکول ہے، ایک اردو میڈیم اسکول ہے، مگر میڈیم آف کمیونیکیشن اردو ہے. تو لارجلی اسپیکنگ اردو امرج ایز اے نیشنل لینگویج آف پاکستان. اور یہ لیونگ، میں نے جیسے عرض کیا کہ یہ لیونگ لینگویج ہے، یہ گروئنگ لینگویج ہے، اور یہ پاپولر لینگویج ہو رہی ہے. اور اس وقت آپ سوچیں کہ بڑے شہروں کا نہ سوچیں، پاکستان کے ریموٹسٹ ایریا کا سوچیں، وہاں بھی کمیونیکیشن کا جو آسان ترین ذریعہ ہے، ورکنگ کلاس سے پوچھیں، جاہل سے پوچھیں، ان پڑھ سے پوچھیں، سادہ لو بندے سے پوچھیں، چاہے شاید وہ بول نہ سکتا ہوگا، لکھ نہیں سکتا ہوگا، مگر ایٹ لیسٹ وہ اردو کو سمجھ سکتا ہوگا. تو ود دس میں آج کا لیکچر ختم کرتا ہوں. اور یہ پاکستان کی لینگویجز پہ اور ان کی افادیت پہ، ان کے یوز پہ میں نے جو بات کی ہے، اس کے بارے میں آپ سوچئے گا. تھینک یو ویری مچ.